Hey, I'm Sadi and welcome to Sadi's Tea, talking about one of the more interesting impulse buys I've done in a while, the HGUC Dijeh, an MS with not much fame or even models in its name. Bandai really slept on this guy in the main HG lineup for a while, but I think that honestly may have been for the best, as it's a kit that really shines and also might have only existed because of the more modern technology, and I just want to gush about this kit. The kit comes packaged in the standard HGUC box layout, with the number on the side indicating that this is 219 in the HG lineup, so quite modern for what we often take a look at here on Sadi's Tea. The illustration here was, by no surprise, was done by Naochika Morishita, as most modern Gunpla boxes are, with the scene depicted here being of the Dijeh in the attack on Kilimanjaro. Same here with the action display image on the side of the box and inside of the manual, where the 219 Dijeh, 203 Zeta Gundam, and the 200 Hyakushiki are going up against the 049 Psycho Gundam. And as for the rest of the manual, it's the typical 4 pages for both the monochrome and colored side, and you can see that the instructions even bleed onto the colored side a bit for the backpack and weapons. Pretty typical affair for instruction manuals. As for runners, you get 10 polystyrene runners, but some of these are just smaller runner segments, so it's closer to around 5 full runners. Then there's the polycap runner, a single set of piss yellow SB20 beams, which from what I believe actually originated from this kit. And then the G-runner for the pipes are made of thermoplastic elastomer, or TPE for short, and that's something that we'll be going into more detail later. After around a whole 2 hours and 24 minutes worth of a build stream, here's the HG Dijeh straight build, and it's almost a perfect depiction of what we saw in Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam. Of course, it has been tweaked a bit for the more modern sensibilities with the longer legs and more compact geometry, though I'm not too big on the muted blue. I really like the vibrant Bahan Blast green, but the blue is a bit off. Still serviceable, but I would have liked it to be a bit louder. Though that's just my taste, and this Dijeh is still as Dijeh as the other 2 Dijeh kits we've gotten, and it's quite a handsome model straight out of the box. Unless a fan falls on you when it damages your model kits. True story. Speaking of which, fans of my Gunpla reviews must have noticed by now that I actually didn't cover the sticker sheet. And if you didn't, well, I should have just made more videos, I guess. Most of it really just adds some of the accenting colors like the small yellow segments on the shoulder shield, a small triangle on both the shield and the spiked shoulder pads, yet on the sticker sheet we get red? And finally a sticker for the mono-eye. Why is there 2 of them? Well, it's because the standard mono-eye is not your only option for optics, as you actually get another really tiny mono-eye track that is quite easy to lose if I do say so myself, with the main difference here being that it has the Gundam type dual eye sockets hollowed out. Now from what I'm aware of, this originated from the RE100 kit, but I actually don't know if it was ever stated in the canon development history of the Dijeh that it was actually supposed to be a dual eye unit but then got converted into a mono-eye suit a la Shinanju style. Come to think of it, that might have been the inspiration. Honestly, I just love this edition. If it was supposed to be a dual eye unit, then this is a really interesting piece of visual storytelling. That this Galgug looking mobile suit could have had the Gundam glare, but then they just strapped the mono eye onto it last minute. Of course, you can still give this kit further love by filling in the parts that still need color correction, like the insides of the verniers, which if the backpack is to be believed, should be red inside. And yes, the backpack exhausts are in red plastic, that's awesome. And of course, some attention to the seam lines, but they're also quite minute and aren't all too bothersome besides the one on the back of the forearms. Though, if you are going to do seam line removal on the head, keep in mind that this section actually has a split on it in the design, so don't accidentally remove that. And since we're on the head, let's talk about the pipes that are made out of TPE. Which kind? I don't actually know. I'm guessing it could either be MPR or TPEU, but really, what I'm trying to get at here is that this material is not very forgiving. Flexible, sure, and it's really nice for straight builds. But for painters, it's just a woe we'd have to accept. As far as I know, we'd need a specific primer to paint TPE. Lord knows that won't be cheap. Then there's the pipe connections on the head, which is going to be its own problem. And basically my point is, this is just not an easy material for modelers to overcome, i.e. a skill issue reality check. Though then again, I think the utilization of this rubbery material was what allowed the HG Dijeh to exist in the first place, as it's one of the major players in terms of head articulation, which is on the dual ball joint polycap for the neck, that doesn't have much horizontal range, but can turn to around 80 degrees just before the pipes come off the Vulcans. Both the ball joint on the base of the neck and also the pipes come off quite easily. either the head Vulcans or at the attachment point here on the back. I even superglued mine on so it doesn't come off too easily. Same story with these panels on the wings, as they're not really held in by anything at all. Maybe a small ridge or notch somewhere that keeps the friction tighter for a bit, but every time I've played with this model, it just hates to stay put. To be fair, I don't think there was a better way to design the wings so that they could be color accurate, especially with how thin and brittle the wings still are. So I can understand this, and this isn't something a bit of gluing won't help. Not too heavy of a blotch, this is honestly quite acceptable. The wings themselves can move around a bit on the ball joint, and here's just the base of the wings to get a better grasp of the range. And even the thruster segments are on ball joints, but truth be told, there's not much range here. And to finish off the backpack, you also have a hinge joint at the single vernier. Shoulders share the same system as the 212 Garibaldi Beta, where it's the typical ball joint socket with the hinge on top. That's on a sliding system located on the inside of the torso, allowing for butterfly movement, and oh, I just love this system of joints. Hell, they even still give us a hinge on the shoulder joint, so the range here really is just incredible. Though of course the right shoulder pad arm is a bit more limited, and the shoulder pad itself does have a hinge joint and a ball joint for this bike seat looking shoulder pad and the full shield, which also has a lot of nice mechanical detail underneath it. Neat! The spike shoulder is only on a hinge though, so not much there. But there is still mechanical detail under it as well, and it's also molded in gray, so it really is quite nice. The biceps can swivel, double jointed elbows that's almost to 180 degrees, and of course the standard ball jointed wrists. The torso is on a ball joint on the abdomen and the waist, and because of this red segment that's not the cockpit, you enter the Dijeh through the head. This thing is also on a ball joint, so while not much in terms of arcs and crunches, you actually can swivel a bit and tilt. But you can cheat by removing the red section out of its designated spot, and despite the fact it feels like a dirty trick, more flexibility is always good. Then there's the skirts, which is rather odd. There's two front skirt segments that kinda just have to move in tandem. The top has to initiate the movement so that the bottom can follow with. Just like in bed. What the fuck am I saying at this point? Side skirts can also move, and all these moving bits does kinda make it a bit hard to align the shapes, though it does allow for a bit of extra clearance, so that the lights can move forward to around 90 degrees, back like, I don't know, 10, and can move out to around 45 degrees. There's the fancy shifting hip joints that I never really found all too useful, especially on this kit. But hey, at least there's a nice thigh swivel. Double jointed knees that the pipes graciously move with. It can do a full 180, but on the actual kit it's more 160, which is still quite impressive. This flap on the shin can move slightly up and down, which allows for the hinge and ball joint on the ankles to move forward. Backwards doesn't exist because of the bell bottoms, but you can also point the toes downwards. A bit of an ankle swivel, and a decent tilt. And of course, the model does feature the 3mm standard port between the legs, so any typical figure stand or an action base can allow the Dijeh to perform aerial poses. So as for the articulation, it is a bit on the finicky side, due to the geometry that slightly restricts the flexibility and just a lot of clashing parts. But there's still a healthy amount of range to be had for such a chunky suit, which really shows Bandai's modern engineering at work. And taking a look at the model disassembled, we can see that it shares the common joint systems of the 2010's high-grade kits, meaning that there's a ton of kit bashing potential, much appreciated for the creatives. Although one slightly annoying bit is that the backpack connectors isn't the common dual pegs, rather a variant where the pegs are closer like on the Marasai and the many different kits that use the Origin Zaku body. So while not completely universal, the construction and unique parts of the Dijeh does make it quite useful for customization. Case in point, the hands, as the Dijeh comes with the smaller version of the Xeon style hands, similarly sized to the small build hands round. I've only ever seen these hands elsewhere on the HG Ifrit kits, so these are actually quite valuable and useful. The Dijeh comes with two gripping hands as the default, which you can split so that the Dijeh can hold onto this hilt, and you can place in these curved beam blades in a specific way, take note of the slant, for the beam naginata, the Dijeh's signature weapon, and really ties together the Yelguk influence. And thanks to the amazing shoulder articulation, getting dynamic poses with this weapon is an absolute dream. Double-ended beam sabers never fail to be awesome. But if you don't wish to use this, first of all seek help. There's always the option of storing it via this clip on the back skirts, secure fit as well. And then you also get this trigger finger right hand and an open palm left hand, which you can use with this beam rifle or the clay bazooka. Nothing really too noteworthy about these weapons, they're the same ones that you get from the 200 Hyakushiki. Beam rifle centering the sticker and the pipes on top does need a bit of yellow, but it's fine enough. Both of the weapons go into the hands quite securely, and some extra firepower on the DJ is always a plus. Storage-wise, the beam rifle doesn't really go anywhere sadly, but the bazooka actually has two options. There's these hooks at the backpack sides that corresponds to this part on top of the bazooka. I don't know why, but it really reminds me of those hooks on top of the bumper cars, you know the ones I mean, right? Flip the handle all the way up and you can hook it onto either side just like so. Or you can take this adapter piece, slot it into the spike shoulders, and use that to grip onto the ammo pack of the bazooka. While I think it's a neat inclusion, as in the lore it was Amarore himself who requested for this weapon rack, my obnoxious brain that never wants to shut up just finds this sword so impractical. Like, isn't it dangerous to have your weapon exposed like this? Settle down boys, come on, we have standards here. And visually, it feels a bit tacked on. Don't get me wrong, I think it's cool, but it does feel a bit odd with how there's just this long linear rectangle against the dumpy chunky slopes. And I know I keep bringing up how stocky the DJ is, but really, it is quite stout. Standing at around 13 centimeters to the head height, the kit really isn't all too tall. It won't be demanding presence against other, more typical anime figures like the Figma Styles female body Chiaki, the Furyu Takaradarika, or the Sega PM figure Mamako Oski. This kit is very much sized like a high grade, but even so, it's on the smaller end of the spectrum, a lot like your standard one-year war suit. To show you what I mean, here's the DJ next to the 041 Zeta Gundam with the scratch build shield. Don't ask. 035 Gundam Mark II from the Super Gundam set. Really wish I had the 053 flying armor for this video. And I don't have either HGUC Hyakushiki kits, but I was gifted the JMS bootleg kit in hard to film gold chrome, which is basically the 200 Hyakushiki. And yeah, the DJ is shorter than all of them, which I don't believe is supposed to be the case, as from what I remember, all of these mobile suits are standing at around the same ballpark. However, it's not because this kit is out of scale. Using Hobby Clubhouse's 1/144 scale ruler will show you that the DJ stands at 18.5 meters tall, just a hair away from the 18.4 meter head height. So as it turns out, it's the other models that got the height wrong, and the DJ was the one that was surprisingly accurate in height. I know a lot of collectors really care more about the relative scale instead of on-the-dot measurements, but props to this kit for being almost bang on in its height, and it's just the cherry on top for this exceptional model kit. Sure, there's some finicky aspects with the stability that kinda get annoying, but the range of motion allows for so much fun with this beefy MS, so I can't really complain about the minute faults. And on its own, the model is definitely great. However, I also do understand that this is the DJ, a mobile suit that doesn't necessarily find itself in the limelight often, so it is a bit hard to recommend as it isn't an overly exciting release. I feel like to really be ecstatic over this kit, you'd already have to have fallen in love with the mobile suit, so of course you're probably gonna get it. But either way, if you're a model enthusiast looking for something fun and interesting, or you're a fan of the MS for its Zeta design, then the HGUC DJ is something I'd recommend getting. And I'm glad that this unique mobile suit was finally given its justice. And that concludes my review of the HGUC 219 DJ. If you'd like to support what we do here on Sadi's Tea, consider giving this video a like, sharing the video around, and subscribing to the channel so you catch up on all the latest reviews we have here on Sadi's Tea. Or you can check out my social media sites for earlier updates, and I did just recently revive my Instagram account. So go check that out and go check out the other social media sites, as all support is very much welcome. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way through, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks for stopping by for some tea!